Hello, everyone. I hope you're here. Let's see. I guess I'm live, right? If you want to let me know if you can see and hear me, I would appreciate it. I'm gonna double check here. I just wanted to say Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. For tomorrow, it's let's see, 1 second. It looks like it is on X, and it is it on also on YouTube. Okay, cool. All right, everyone. So yeah, I just want to pop in for a few. Hey, Michelle. Thanks for being here. Answer some questions. Have a little conversation about Thanksgiving. It's I really like Thanksgiving. It's a very benevolent type of holiday to express thanks for those things that we really appreciate, whether friends, loved ones, things in life, and so on. And of course, sometimes it ends up being a hell of a night in terms of having arguments with family members. But hey, that's part of life too, right? Some people can take it, some people can't. But yeah, so I just want to pop in for a few and have a little back and forth with everyone before the big day. Got nothing really. I was watching something with Ta-Nehisi Coates, that piece of shit that they call him race baiter. He's racist. He's not a race baiter. He's a racist. I mean, that's what he is. Hates whites, writes books about it, and he decided last year to add Jew hatred to his, hatred, where he decided that he's going to write a book about something he has no idea about, the quote-unquote Israel-Palestine. Thanks, Michelle. Israel-Palestine quote-unquote conflict. It's not a conflict. It's a war. It's an endless war that Muslims keep, perpetuating. Anyway, yeah, that's from my first graphic novel, Table for One. It ended up being the signature image in a lot of ways. It's Will, the main character, is walking through the restaurant where he works. He goes, "I walked through the crowded room, not a soul in sight." And the idea being that, at least what I experience in my life, is the more people in a room, at a table, in an area, the less soul, the less individuality, the less truth is being expressed. Everyone's trying to one-up each other. Everyone's trying to impress each other. Everyone's trying to put on their best face, which is not their true face in a lot of ways. So the idea is that I walked through a crowded room, not a soul in sight. And that's how he felt in a moment. That's how I felt sometimes. Well, hey, Hamilton. Thanks for being here, guys. Yeah, so, anything you guys want to talk about, ask about, just shoot. Otherwise, I'm just going to talk about a few things and then get going. I got a long drive ahead tomorrow, so I'm glad Ethan Van Sciver did some trash casts so I can listen to a couple of them on the way there and back, which will be pretty cool. And that's another thing. I want to thank Ethan Van Sciver. I want to thank Comicsgate for basically introducing me to a whole new audience and getting a chance to get Pigman out there in a bigger way than it has in the past. So I really appreciate that. To everyone, to all the Comicsgate kings, all the comic skaters out there, those who want to be cartoonists, those who buy them, those who support them, back them. It's a hell of a thing, when you're independent cartoonist and you're in the wilderness in a lot of ways. You produce your stuff, whether you make money or not. You just keep going. I mean, that's why you do it. You do it because you love it. If you make some money, great. And if you make enough money, that's also because then you can really just keep going. But it's a great thing to have that kind of backup. It really is. Thanks, Michelle. It really is. It's great to be part of it. I would call myself a severe individualist, so I don't like being part of any groups or anything, but this one, it's different. It's about comics. It's about my love, I love comics, and I'm glad to be part of it. Even the live streams with a lot of people, that's not my ideal. I love one-on-one conversations, but that's just the way it is. It's Comicsgate Kings show, right? and I take part in it, and I enjoy being there. I'm getting used to it. It's something new for me, but just glad to be here. That's all. It's always a pleasure. So yeah, if anyone else is out there, you guys got any comments, questions, ask away about comics, about my career, about what are you guys doing for Thanksgiving? I'm assuming everyone has a place to go. Let me know. Hamilton asked, do you have any book recommendations to help explain what is going on in terms of the modern conservative revival in the U.S.? I have some friends overseas who are baffled how Trump won. I mean, I don't know. In terms of conservatism, I'm not a conservative per se. I'm not. I mean, I'm called that. I'm assumed to be that, but I'm not. I lean right. I've always voted Republican, but I follow Ayn Rand's philosophy. That's what I follow, objectivism. So I don't know in terms of books, Hamilton. I mean, I've read tons of books. I mean, but I've read books on philosophy, books on politics. I mean, even Mark Levin, Mark Stein. Even though Mark Levin, I can't listen to him anymore. He's just so annoying, and he was so shitty when I think DeSantis came out. He was all gung ho for him. It's like, what? I mean, DeSantis is okay, but it was Trump's turn, especially in a sense where he had it stolen from last time. Give the man his due. At least give him a shot. Instead, he goes in there for a power play and diminish himself. But yeah, in terms of why and what for, and your friends are shocked, hey, a lot of Europeans just don't get it. And I gotta say, it's very simple. It's a very simple matter. And I know that personally speaking with even some fellow objectivists, there's something about their inability to appreciate America in an intimate way, in a natural way. A lot of these guys who can't stand Trump, right? They all come from European countries. They all come from overseas. They just don't get it, and they can't. It seems like they're incapable of getting it, no matter what happens. It's like they look at Trump and like they're put off by him. It's like, who gives a shit? You don't have to spend time with him. You don't have to hang out with him. Don't worry about that. Look at his first term and then tell me that they'll be better to continue this one. Just, it's a joke. But Michelle, I used to go to a lot of cons. I used to go to New York Con, MoCA, the Small Press Convention in New York City. I used to go to visit, I used to go to conventions as well. But in terms of me being a cartoonist, showcasing my stuff, I went to MoCA in New York. I went to SPX in Maryland, the Small Press Expo. Went to the San Diego Comic-Con. I used to have a booth there for a number of years. And it was great. And I loved it. Again, another surprise. It's like, I would much prefer writing and drawing, in privacy in my own home, and that's it. But I do like interacting with fellow cartoonists, and I really like interacting with readers. That was the thing that I really enjoyed. Just, pitching my book and my books out there, breaking them down into little understandable ways, and people getting them to buy it. It was always great. So I did enjoy it. Haven't been to one in years. I'm not sure if they'll accept me if I get a booth, but hopefully the Comicsgate Con of some sort happens at some point. Even though I gotta say I would like to maybe not advertise the fact that I'm going to be there, and just be there, because I don't want to bring any undue negative attention or possible threats. But Hamilton, okay, he goes, fair enough. Wasn't trying to pigeonhole you, but you seem well read outside of the comics. Yeah, I am. I mean, I've read thousands of books. I mean, over the years, I've read. I was a voracious reader ever since I was a kid, and it was not instilled in me. My parents were from overseas. They were illiterate in a lot of ways. It was just me, just picking it up on my own. I loved reading novels, and then from that, comics and so on, back and forth, and magazines and books and biographies. Biographies was a real interest for me. For some reason, I wanted to know these great people and the lives they lived and how they lived them and what motivated them and so on. It was always fascinated by that. whether they're actors or activists or writers and artists, and just to get a good idea about why they did what they did. That was always fun. So yeah, I mean, I don't take exception to that, Hamilton. It's not about pigeonholing me. I don't pigeonhole myself. I mean, I don't limit myself either. Oh, I'm this or that. I'm a lot of things, but and again, while I'm not a conservative per se, I mean, and when I say per se, it's like I'm called that sometimes. I'm assumed that. I'm even smeared as that sometimes by some objectivists who have lost the plot completely about what Ayn Rand intended. Ayn Rand, whatever else she was to these people, she was a vicious, fierce opponent against socialism, against collectivism, against altruism. The left was always the bad guys in her novels. No matter what that was, it was always a leftist, a socialist, whether it was Ellsworth Toohey or in Atlas Shrugged, right? So that should reflect on some objectivists and their attitudes, but what they end up doing is they end up voting for these collectivists. It's very, very strange to me. So I had one of them actually call me a conservative as a smear. And I don't take it as a smear. I'm like, hey, I mean, I'm not, but that was his way of just trying to tell me that if you vote for Trump, you're not an objectivist, which is absolute insanity. The guy Ayn Rand's greatest student, Leonard Peikoff, who voted for him in 2020, voted for him now. It says that's the only way, we can get this country right. It was the only way. So, okay, Hamilton. Yeah, as for me, I'm Hamilton says, as for me, I'm Canadian, so we had our Thanksgiving a month ago, but I will be watching some NFL tomorrow. Yeah. I mean, I think Paul Ravoch mentioned the fact that it came earlier in, I guess, Canada. Michelle says about conventions, I think they're fun. I go around the ones in New England when I can. Yeah, I mean, look, I love being a part of it. As a fan, but also as a creator. Going to the San Diego Comic-Con, having a booth, right, and being nominated for an Eisner, and going to the parties, and it was just, I really enjoyed it. And I remember I made a number of friends, right, and I probably mentioned this in one of the streams, but I'll mention it again. I made a number of friends, and then when I had that first, I think it was the first advertisement of Pigman. It was called "When Will Comics Take on Jihad?" And it's a drawing of Pigman when Pigman flies, right? When pigs fly. And some of those cartoonists that I enjoyed being with, and we used to have dinner and drinks after the convention, talk about comics. I mean, it was great. They literally turned their backs on me when I walked up and just tried to ignore me. And I was like, I was a little shocked to be honest at first, and now I'm used to it. It is to be expected. But that's life. Make comics great again says, make comic books great again. Happy Thanksgiving, Bosh. Happy Thanksgiving to you too, and to everyone listening. Looking forward to backing the remastered Pigman. Thanks, man. I thought John Millen gave you the biggest compliment I ever heard him give anyone one day when he said Pigman is the most important CG book. That was something else. That really was. It was like, wow, oh, that's awesome. I think he appreciates the idea behind it and what I'm doing with it, and hopefully he likes the book. In the end, if he backs it, hopefully we get a chance to talk about it. I ordered Godlike and 2, and I'm going to order, I guess, Godlike 1 on eBay. I think they had it on eBay, so get those. I got Inglorious Rex number 1. It looks good. I haven't read it yet, and I've gotten Ethan's books as well, and I ordered Billy's books, Billy Tucci, and some other ones from CG. Liam, I'm still waiting for the Dino King. I'm looking forward to that as well. But yeah, it was something else to hear John say that. It was very, very cool. Very cool. I showed my video, which is available on my YouTube channel. Check it out. It's my video for Pigman. And again, I'm going to mention here to you guys because I'm going to change something. I've been calling it special edition. And while it is, I think I'm going to keep special edition off of it because this is the first time. This is the first Pigman number 1 comic book. For years, it was called The Infidel featuring Pigman, right? The Infidel featuring Pigman, 1, 2, 3. This is the first time it'll be called Pigman. So I think as a re-release, but also it will have some extra pages. It will have some extra scenes, some extra. It'll be issue 1 and 2 combined with extra stuff. But I'm just going to call it Pigman #1 because by the time issue 3 comes, if this all goes well, it'll be all new material. So I don't think I could do Pigman Special Edition #1, Pigman Special Edition number 2, and then just Pigman #3. I want to keep it consistent. This is the relaunch of Pigman in a lot of ways. With hopefully an audience who's interested enough to do 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. And I'm thinking the way it goes, it'll be over 60 pages, maybe 70 each one. So it'll probably end up being 4 to 5 issues with that number at least. It'll be a few hundred pages. And then in the end, as I've planned for years, a hardcover pigskin leather edition. Pigskin leather bound edition. It'll be Islam proof, right? Jihad proof. But yeah, that was something else. Make comics great again. To hear John say that was awesome. Hey, Mike Hunt. Anyone protesting Thanksgiving over in the States? I don't know. I don't know. Well, I heard some stinking leftists talking about rejecting their families on Thanksgiving. Good. I mean, fine. Good. Because they'll make a mess anyway. They'll make it into a political thing. I remember, having arguments with family. That's what happens, right? But leftists have taken this so badly that it's better off that they don't come. Good. Mike, he goes, I'm not sure, but I'll bet there will be random incidents. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We will see. Hamilton says, any mainstream comic book character stories you would like the opportunity to work on in a parallel world where you would be allowed to do so. Exactly. Thanks for mentioning that way because it will be a parallel world. Spider-Man, first to come to mind. Love Spider-Man. And it just so happens to be that Steve Ditko, who had more to do with the creation of Spider-Man than Stan Lee, no matter what Stan Lee says. Because Stan Lee just threw out this idea of Spider-Man, right? And he gave it to Jack Kirby. Jack Kirby came back with a Captain America type of big, bulky superhero with a similar look of Captain America. And then he didn't think that was right. And then he gave it to Ditko, and Ditko created this incredibly, very different type of superhero. Lean, right? First of all, not that tall. I think he's listed as 5'10", 165 pounds, I believe. And covered his face with this webbing, and it was like interesting, like with the really cool eyes and the webbing on the suit, and it was black and red at that point with little slight blue highlights. I love that one. I love that version. And he's an objectivist, and he was an objectivist, so he brought a little of that sensibility to it, And if you read it with that in mind, you start to pick up some stuff. So yeah, I can see the Ditko's influence, because Ditko wrote the bulk of the issues that him and Stan Lee did. He plotted the bulk of them. I think he started getting credit by a certain point, but he was plotting them at least since issue 10. So for 28 issues, for actually over 30 issues, because they did 3 annuals, they were Ditko stories. He plotted and penciled them. And then when they, lettered, then he plotted, penciled, and inked them. And Stan Lee added the words. So Peter Parker, Spider-Man, that early version, if I could, I would love to do that. And then you got the Lee Ditko, right? And then you have the Roger Stern, John Romita Jr. run in the 80s, which to me is the second best run. Hands down the second best. They understood, Roger Stern understood Peter Parker and Spider-Man in a way that writers outside of, Ditko and Lee didn't. And John Romita Jr., to me, he was one of my favorites of all time, and he was so good. He took his father's perfection of the Ditko, Spider-Man. Check out this one video that I have. It's about Spider-Man. I even show a little showcase what I mean about the placement of the lines on the Romita version of Spider-Man and why I found it incredibly fascinating, because he basically gave Spider-Man a human face. It's not obvious, but once you see what I refer to in the video, you'll probably get it. So Spider-Man clearly Batman, absolutely, especially after Dark Knight, Batman Year One. I always read those comics, but it was Dark Knight and Batman Year One which really just made me fall in love, with the character. And I know people, resent Miller's version, all that. Hey, tell me a more epic, Batman story than The Dark Knight Returns. I mean, truly, you can say all this and say, well, there are a lot better stories. Tell me. I'd love to read them because I don't think they exist. I know there are good Batman stories, as epic as Dark Knight Returns. No, I mean as great as Batman Year One. No, I haven't read them, and I enjoy the Chuck Dixon and Graham Nolan, with the Bane and all that. I definitely did, and I got all of those issues. But in terms of thinking outside the box and taking Batman to the ultimate limit, Dark Knight Returns, it still holds up today. It still holds up today. So yeah, Spider-Man, Batman, Daredevil, Hulk. Would love to do a Hulk, and I'm talking about the Lee Kirby Hulk, where he's a pissed off brute with a thuggish mentality. He's nasty to Rick Jones. He tells him to shut up, kid, and all that. And it's the id of Bruce Banner, and the way Stan Lee wrote him. He wasn't dumb. He was clever. He was conniving. He was thinking about taking over the world. Even he had a contempt for humanity, but he also was like a thug. I mean, he really was like a super thug. He was like, and then it turned into Hulk Smash, which is like, what a stupid way to go. They diminished the character by doing that. For how many years was he saying Hulk Smash? Like, it's just stupid. Have be that nasty, brutish guy, but he's still got a brain in him. He still has a character. He still has something going on. So I would love to do that version. Daredevil as well. Daredevil, great character. And again, a decent character. Miller took him and just made him great. He just took what was there, brought in Elektra, brings in the Kingpin, which is like a perfect villain for Daredevil, more so than for Spider-Man. I mean, how the hell can Kingpin take on Spider-Man in any capacity? I mean, Spider-Man is a powerful being. He can lift 10 tons. He can jump 40 feet. He sticks to walls. He has a spider sense. He has webbing. He's a hell of a super character. I mean, he's super powered. People tend to forget that because of his slight figure. The guy can take a truck, over his head, even a bus over his head, and throw it. That's how strong he is. 10 tons. And he struggles against Kingpin. I mean, even if it's muscle, so what? Kingpin's he's a man. So it's more realistic that he would be a great villain for Daredevil, even on a physical front. But anyway, so yeah, Daredevil, Spider-Man, Daredevil, Batman, Superman. I love Superman. There hasn't been the closest we've got, I think, in terms of great Superman. I know that people talk about the Alan Moore stuff. I don't care for Alan Moore's the Man of Tomorrow, whatever it was called, where he's crying in this Fortress of Solitude. It's like, yeah, I don't want to see that. I really don't. That's, Alan Moore trying to diminish this great iconic figure. I mean, really, I remember seeing that. I felt uneasy about it. I didn't resonate with it. Like, oh, Superman. No, I was like, don't like that. I really don't. All-Star Superman, for all the faults of Grant Morrison, and there are. I mean, the guy's an idiot in terms of politics, and also post 9/11, he all of a sudden became a pacifist. He creates Dusk, I think, which was a Muslim superhero. I think he created at least 2 Muslim superheroes. Night Runner, I believe that was him. Even though it was I think it was something on the side, like a side issue of his franchising Batman. But anyway, it's really good. There are moments in there that are beautiful. All-Star Superman and Frank Quitely, a hell of an artist, a great artist, and then not in some pages. Like, why does Superman look that bad? And then he looks great. And why does he look that bad? Why does he look a little chubby? Why does his face look like that? It's strange, but man, he's a hell of an artist. The organic quality of his art, from the line work, the way he does it, he's incredible. So yeah, All-Star Superman, but I would love to do a Superman story and remind myself and others why he's the icon of icons, why he is, the first and greatest superhero. He is. It's not because he's a big galoot, as James Gunn referred to me. He's not. He's a big galoot, Superman. No, I'm afraid that with that attitude going in, he might make Superman a little a galoot in the new one. I hope not. I hope not. Superman's a great character, and he's smart as hell. He's not a galoot. I don't know if he's using a wrong term or that's what his Superman's going to be. But regardless, I'm looking forward to it. I'm curious what it's going to be. So yeah, Hamilton. I got a lot of those characters. The Question, the Question would love to do that. Steve Ditko's objectivist character would love to do that. I know that Denny O'Neil, is such an annoying guy. My God, Denny O'Neil, such a leftist. People say, yeah, it didn't matter politics. Yeah, he kept shoving his politics in comics. Remember the stupid issue with Green Lantern and Green Arrow? And there's a black guy who walks up to Green Lantern and says, hey, you worry about this alien, those alien, why not this race, that race, why not but the black race? And he's stumped. Hal Jordan, I don't know why. It's like, that's stupid. That's just stupid. It's just so stupid, leftist, liberal crap. And then he wrote Daredevil for a while. It was okay. Nothing great. Until, Miller teamed up with... think about what Miller and Mazzucchelli did, Born Again, prior, and what Mazzucchelli did prior with Denny O'Neil. We're talking different planet. A different planet. And then Denny O'Neil took The Question and made him into some kind of hippie. So he took Ditko's, character and made him into a hippie. That's a very aggressive move. It's a very hostile move against someone's character. Very nasty. Very nasty. Denny O'Neil. So yeah, Hamilton, if that answers you, is a lot of characters, but those are the ones that really jump to mind. Thanks for asking. Make comics book great again. When Oz meant something, yeah, they did mean something. Don't you and Liam? Yeah, we did. Lena asked me to make a cover from 6-7 years ago. I drew it. I was happy with it too, and he was happy with it as well. And it fell through for some reason. He's he's been plugging away for a while, and I'm really looking forward to Dino King. Ethan's reaction to it was great. He just let me to get it, and it's so funny. I was on that stream the first time. I think I was on Ethan's Trashcast, and Liam came on. I didn't put two and two together. I didn't know that was the guy who hired me to do that cover years ago. It's so funny. He goes, Bosch, it's Liam. I said, Liam? I said, wait a minute. Are you? I said, what? So yeah, it's so funny. I hear a lot of crap from him, right? But my experience with him have been great. Liam's great. Thanks, JB. I'm very excited as well about the Pigman launch. Happy Thanksgiving, Hamilton. Art. How's it going, Art? Art says, smart way to go about it. Consistency is good. What's going into the remastering? I'm going to add moments, scenes. I'm going to expand certain scenes. There's certain things that I feel now can breathe a little more. Because when you're doing it, you just, you focus on the story. You want to get every note in there. Right now, if I could look at it, I'm like, you know what? I might be able to change this, change that, improve this, maybe add some dialogue, take away some dialogue, maybe redraw some stuff that I'm not happy with. Even though when I let things go, my art go, it's the best I can do. And I'm like, this is good. This is the best I can do, and go on. If you're looking for perfection, you bust your ass, you try to do the best you can, and then if you can improve it, great. Later on, maybe. But when you do it, it's like, okay, I think this is good. I think this is the best I could do at this time. And that's it. So I got this howling dog here. Anyway. Oof. If you guys can hear it, I hope you can actually, because it's so annoying. But anyway, yeah, thanks, Hamilton. Appreciate it. Yeah. And Mike Hunt says he wants Stanley to take credit for Batman. Did he? I thought you were joking at first, because he tries to take credit for everything. He took full credit for Spider-Man, which is really way out of line. Way out of line. Again, especially if you know the origins of Spider-Man. It was a co-creation and more of a creation of Ditko's. Ditko created the webbing, and the suit and the web shooters, and he created all that. Stan Lee just threw him a name, Spider-Man. M Sandwich, hail, thanks. Mike Hunt says Juggernaut on Gotham City is my favorite Batman story. Juggernaut on Gotham City, okay. Oh, sorry, Juggernaut on Gotham. I will check it out. Thanks. Make comic books great again, says poor Rick Jones. Yeah, Hulk was slapping him around. Shut up, kid. He goes, get out of here. Who the hell you think you are? It was just really funny. He was such a nasty guy. And again, that's the Hulk. I mean, that's the Hulk. Nasty, brutish. And he wasn't built like a bodybuilder. He had a little gut. He had a little hairy chest and hairy arms. And he was ugly. And he had the big forehead, the short, like stubby nose, long upper lip, like a Cro-Magnon. He looked like an ape. Long arms. Ditko really pushed the long arms when he drew issue 6 of the first run. Ditko inked issue 2 over Kirby. Very different than the other issues. And then he penciled and inked issue 6. And then when it turned, I think, in Journey into Mystery, Ditko did a number of issues. I don't think he inked those though. I think he had some inkers on there, and it wasn't as good because to me, both Ditko and Kirby, when they drew Hulk later on, it wasn't as good. They gave him a longer nose. He looked more human, which I don't know why they did that. I don't know why. He looked a little more like a beast in those early issues, which I think by issue 4, to me, that's like the Hulk. That's the look that you want. Art says, if you like stories that lean more into the detective side, The Long Halloween is up there. Yeah, I got a problem with The Long Halloween and stuff. First of all, Jeff Loeb, don't care for him as a writer at all. I just don't. I think he gets these artists like Jim Lee, and he goes out there and I think he caters to them, completely placates them. Okay, what do you want to draw? What do you want to draw? And then he'll just write around that. And I'm not impressed with his writing. I heard it's great. I don't know. And Tim Sale, for some reason, I don't know why, he made the strangest faces. Batman's face is just weird. It's strange. The nose, the mouth, the way he does it, the body, it's just off. I don't know what it is. It never appealed to me. I had the chance of meeting him, one thing I loved about him was his gray wash when he did Daredevil Yellow. The gray wash is beautiful. The gray wash in the Hulk comic that he did, the gray wash, it was great. His anatomy, nah, man. And his faces, I just couldn't get behind. And the lack of consistency with Batman's ears, one's longer than the other. They're always a little curvy, always a little crooked. It's just strange. I couldn't get aboard. And I'm a purist in a sense where, you got the Mazzucchelli's Batman. I mean, to me, it's as good as it gets. I know it's not, it's not the Neil Adams one, but Neil Adams, I'm not crazy about that either. I'm not crazy about his art, especially I'm not crazy about his writing. My God, that Batman, what was it called? Oh my God, it was so bad. It was so bad. Neil Adams did a comeback with Batman. Let me give you one example. He's climbing a train, right? He's climbing a train and he's carrying something. He goes, oh, I realize that I'm carrying something, so I can't be climbing as fast. Something stupid like that. It's like, that's not writing. That's a guy who mistakenly drew something, I think, and then just wrote on top of that. And as Batman's doing his thing, a train conductor is just thinking about his family for no reason. It's just randomly we're getting in the head of the conductor. Has nothing to do with the actual story. Wacky. Is absolute wacky. And yeah, while I appreciate the fact that some of his art did look good, I mean, the Superman versus Muhammad Ali and stuff, it looked great. It did. I'm not crazy about him. And I'm not crazy about all the definition that he added to Batman and all that, and the strange faces, and the strange sausage fingers he gave. He always gave like these sausage fingers. I don't know why he did that. But yeah, Frank Miller's his storytelling about Batman, more so his storytelling than his art. His art could be iffy. If he's not busting his ass, it's not that great. It's the storytelling of The Dark Knight. It's the storytelling that really makes it go off. And then, of course, it takes it to another level with Batman Year One, when you got this master illustrator. I mean, Dave Mazzucchelli is one of the all-time greats in comic book history. One of the all-time greats. And very limited work in mainstream comics. Daredevil, Batman, Daredevil Born Again, Batman Year One. But that's enough to say, okay, He made his mark to the point where he's an all-time great. And then his other work, his following work, Rubber Blanket. He did The City of Glass graphic novel for, what was it, Paul Auster. It was an adaptation. I mean, it's just great. Asterios Polyp, 2009, when he released that. He's been teaching ever since. I hope he has another graphic novel in him. I just hope so. It's been a long time now. It's been 15 years since Asterios Polyp. That's a long time. I can't believe it's been that long. Wow. Make comic books great against the Daredevil. Always got great writers and artists after that run. Yeah, he did. He really did. Because, Miller elevated him. He made him a major, major superhero at that point. So everyone wanted a piece of it. Everyone wanted to get on board. And Nocenti and John Romita Jr. took on maybe, 15 issues? 17 issues after Frank Miller and Dave Mascaro left. It was issue 250 with Daredevil. And it was strange. It wasn't as good, as Frank Miller and Dave Mascaro, but the art was great. It was the first time, I think Romita said it was the first time he had full pencils. And he was a little demanding. He goes, I want Al Williamson to ink it. He says it was a long shot, but Al Williamson agreed, and it was great. They were a great combination. And Nocenti, some good stuff, interesting stuff, but, quirky, very, very quirky. A lot of stuff in there was like, okay, a little strange, but, she put in her liberal stuff in there and her about Mita's murder type thing and the environment and all that. But, yeah, and then D.G. Chichester, if that's how you pronounce his name, and Lee Weeks did a follow-up on Batman, on the Born Again with a revenge plot against Kingpin. Really good. And Lee Weeks is fantastic. I mean, he's a great artist. And then after that, years later, you got Mark Waid with Chris Samney. And Mark Waid, I can't stand him. He's a communist. He's a piece of shit. And he's writing everything in DC now. He's writing like Superman and Justice League and all this stuff. It's like, why? He had this one moment. There was one moment in Spider-Man issue that he wrote. The art was not good, but I remember the one moment was really good about Peter Parker talking to Uncle Ben when he was young, when Peter Parker was very young, and he said something. He goes, "What did he say? What did he say?" He goes, "You're not my father," and then he said something. I forgot, but it's worth it. It's worth reading that one part because that's a very evocative moment. It's great. But that's the only thing I can really point to and say, that's great. I liked his Flash run because I didn't know shit about him then, so I could just enjoy the story. And he didn't put his politics in there. His Wally West stories, they were really fun. And then he comes out there like an idiot and just basically he's a communist. But Daredevil always got great. Yeah, made comics great again. Said I love Byrne Superman growing up. Me too. I definitely did. It was from the Fantastic Four right to Hulk. And then straight to a Superman. And it was interesting. It was the first time I think I regularly bought Superman. I got, issues here and there, but that was a big deal. To get Frank Miller on Batman, John Byrne on Superman. A big, big deal because they were the biggest at Marvel, for a time. And then George Perez, Wonder Woman, which was good. I enjoyed it. Writing was okay here and there. Stories were good, but they weren't world changing. Even Byrne Superman, it wasn't Dark Knight level in terms of an epic quality, in terms of the legend of Batman coming to life in a way that really wasn't there before. I mean, it just comes out of retirement 10 years and in his 50s and goes on a rampage against Gotham. Superman comes in there. It's just epic. The storytelling, again, it's Miller. He's a storyteller, first and foremost. He's a storyteller. And when I say storyteller, I mean there's writing and there's layouts and stuff. Illustrator, again, when he busts his ass, sure. Like Wolverine, there's those old Daredevils, moments of Dark Knight, even though it gets a little wonky at times. But he's a storyteller through and through. Ditko, made comic books great, and said more Ditko. Maybe... not exactly sure what you mean there, but Mike Hunt, Hal Jordan worries about the human race, right? He goes, yeah, you got to worry about this race, this race. How about I think even the idiot called it the black race. They're like, what? You're the human race, dummy. Okay, Art says, I love that Green Arrow Lantern run, but I had some It has some poor moments, and that part is the worst one by a mile. It's so bad. It's so bad that it turned me off from reading it. Because I was like, okay, I heard this is the greatest, right? And I think maybe I came across that first. I was like, that is so stupid. It's embarrassingly bad, and it's just like shoving his politics in there. And then he made, I don't know if Green Arrow was a leftist the way until the leftist Denny O'Neil got his hands in it. And by the way, Denny O'Neil went from Denny O'Neil to Dennis O'Neil. Dennis O'Neil. I was like, great. But I gotta say this though. The most effective story I think that Denny O'Neil wrote was, I think it was called Venom. 5 issues in the Dark Knight. What was it called? It was a series of like in early days of Batman, Legends of the Dark Knight. I think Legends of the Dark Knight, one of those early arcs, which was I think Venom. I think that's where the origin of the Venom that Bane uses was. I think that was the origin of it, and it was good. It was very effective. Strange, good scenes with some of the characters and some of the generals and Batman himself. Choosing to take the Venom. It was good, very good. That's one that I can reread. And also there was another one. Sam Hamm wrote issue 598, 599, and 600 of Detective Comics with Dennis Cohen, or Cowan, however you pronounce it, and that also worked. The guy who wrote the Batman screenplay, the original Batman movie with Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson. Something about that story was really good, and the art was hit or miss sometimes. Dennis Cohen was trying some stuff, and he was trying a Sienkiewicz thing, and sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, but it didn't matter because the story was so strong. It was so well told, and again, very strange, but that's one thing that I can reread, definitely that reread, and Sam Hamm wrote that, but again, Denny O'Neil did write that Venom thing, and I really liked it. It's really worth reading. If you haven't read it, check it out. You might like it. Mike says Stan sort of was talking about Batman in an interview, saying something like how he was talking to Bob Kane. Judgment on Gotham. It was Batman meets Judge Dredd. Judge Dredd arrested and unmasked him immediately. Huh. I guess Judge Dredd met up with Batman in a story. I didn't know that. So very Dredd. I need to track that one down. Tim Seals and Acquired Taste. Art says, yeah, definitely threw me off at first. Loeb quality varies. I think Long Halloween is his best by a mile. He'll never top it. That's what I hear. I may have read an issue or two, and I think I fell off. I saw the adaptation, the cartoon. It was fine. Don't remember too much, though. I got to be honest. I don't remember too much about it. Let's see. Mike says, Judgment on Gotham is probably Simon Bisley's last great painted comic. Either being slack or alcoholism really did a number on Bisley's art. I believe so, yeah. I mean, I enjoyed Beasley, if that's how you pronounce it. The Christmas special with Lobo and I think the Easter rabbit, the Easter bunny puts a hit on Santa. I think that's what it was. And he puts a hit and he hires Lobo to do it. And Santa's a big brawler with his buddy Kong. I think he has a bodyguard named Kong. He was like a big gorilla. It was very, very funny. I like that. I like some of those old Lobo comics. And then he did something with Mad Boy with Frank Miller. I don't know. In and Out. I read it, but don't remember too much. Miller also was hit with the sauce. He was hitting the sauce hard as well. You could tell some of the work, like, what the hell. Art says, back then, Hal Jordan was written more conservative and Oliver Queen more liberal. And the idea of the story was to have two friends with different views clash on a road trip across America. Yeah, I do remember that aspect of it, yeah. At least that was the intent. Mike says, if you like Warhammer 40K, you got to read 2000 AD. I know of that magazine from the 80s and see how much that magazine influenced Warhammer. I still say RoboCop was the first Judge Dredd film. Yeah, that's what I gather. Hey, hey, Diana. Diana says, "Hi, boss. You're a storyteller. You're a storyteller with Table for One. The black and white is so fitting. Congratulations on the 20th anniversary of your first graphic novel, and of course the crowdfunding. Thank you. Yeah, it's just it's very cool. It is the 20th anniversary of Table for One. Even though I finished it, I think in my 20s, and I was working on it, and then um, adding to it and doing a school project, and then trying to get it published, and then after a few years, I say, you know what, I'm going to self-publish it. So yeah. M Sandwich said, "Did you ever read any Grendel by Matt? What's his name? Matt. I did. I did read Grendel. I think I read Grendel and Batman, if I'm not mistaken. They teamed up as well. It was what was his name? So funny. I forgot his name. Matt. Do you hear that dog howling? Anyway, Hamilton says, I think Matt, what's his name? Matt something. Grendel. I read Grendel for sure. Hamilton says, are you averse to leftist superheroes of any kind, or just poorly written ones, or stories of politics shoehorned in? I mean, look, I think even Mark Millar even conceded the fact that the superhero is a right-wing idea. It's, and he, at least at one point, he was almost like a communist. I don't know what he is now. He seems like, I don't know where he is now. I mean, he sounds like pretty, if not right-wing, calling the left, calling them cancel pigs. I don't know of any leftists who would do that. So I don't know if he became more right, not a little less leftist. I don't know. But so yeah, I mean, look, if they're written well and honestly, the fact is you got to write them honestly. You can't propagandize with those characters. If I write a leftist, he's gonna be a leftist through and through. Yeah. And if there are complaints about it, well, you wrote him in a bad light. Yeah, because he got terrible ideas and they're fundamentally dishonest. But I will, write them in stories. Absolutely, I have them in my comics, in the culture war areas, and in the Pigman, in the debates that they have. So long as they're written honestly. Matt Wagner, thanks. Make Comic Books Ready. Yeah, Matt Wagner. I did read. I read the Trinity, I think, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman series they did. Grendel, I read those years ago. I think it was a Grendel and Batman miniseries where they teamed up. I believe so. I might be wrong, but I do remember something like that. So yeah, Hamilton, it's just be honest with it, and it's like the caricatures of the leftists when they write conservatives and whatnot. They're caricatures. I wouldn't make a caricature. I'll try to make them as honestly as I possibly can. That's it. I mean, and again, when you do that with leftists, you can't forget the fact that they always lie. They always lie. It's a fundamentally dishonest ideology, and that's why this idea, right, wokeism is dead. It's like, you idiots. Wokeism is leftism. It's communism. It's Nazism. It's fascism. It's all this. That's what it is. You want to call it, where is wokeism, quote unquote, politically, left or right? Of course it's left. I know that we're talking about the woke right now. I don't even know what the hell they're talking about. I don't know. And then you got these other guys like trigonometry. Ugh, those guys, man. The weakest of the bunch. Always trying to compromise. Always itching to compromise, right? Talking about, here's what the left should do. It's like, the left has to stop being the left. What do you mean, here's what they should do? The idiot, one of the skinny guy of the two ugly guys, he goes, hey, the left should be more patriotic, more honest, more this, more pro-capitalist, and more free speech. What are you talking about, you dummy? They're not. They hate free speech. They hate capitalism. They're socialists. It's so stupid to try to say that the left has to not be the left to be good leftists. It's like, no. They just don't be the left to be ex-leftists. The best leftists are the ex-leftists anyway. So yeah, I know I've gotten some pushback from people like, I'm a leftist, I'm good, I'm honest. No, you're not. If you're honest and stuff, you're not a leftist. And I'll be the judge of whether you're honest or not. You can tell me you're honest all you want, but I'll know in our own interaction. I'll know in your posts. I'll know in your work if you write any. Mike says, Mike says Simon's black and white comic art was tip top in the 80s. Yeah, he was. I mean, he was, really out there. Mike also said the Frank Miller piece I think of the most is that Wolverine cover. It's very evocative. It is. It's fantastic. It's great. And he had, I think he was using Clint Eastwood as a slight base for his Wolverine. And then, it's like projection, right? Then you forward to the future and you got Hugh Jackman, who at times evokes the old Clint Eastwood. So that was interesting. That little confluence. Just Miller decided to do that and then hire him to play it. Just happened to look like him. Mike says, Halo Jones is a great lefty comic character. It's my favorite Alan Moore comic, also 2000. I know of the name. I know of that. 2000 AD was Make It Sci-Fi. Alan Moore brought in a feminist comic called Halo Jones. It was great. Woke is such a nebulous term. Wingus Dingus says, woke is such a nebulous term. I miss when it was called SJW. I feel like that was such a perfect term and described exactly what it... That's the thing, It's always... The core is there. The dishonesty is there. The communism is there. The socialism is there, right? The leftism is there, but they always want... Even the right doesn't want to call it by... Call them communists. It's like, come on, right-wingers. Call these communists. Stop calling them SJWs or even wokists. Wokist, what the hell does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. Wokeism, socialism. It's nihilism, it's communism, it's Nazism, it's fascism. It's just so stupid. And it's also, to me, it brings to mind what the right and the left did after 9/11. The left wasn't willing to even call it, anything else like the Islamic enemy, but the right was itching and dying to create false terms to cover up the fact that Islam motivated the Islamic enemy. They went from totalitarian Islam, Islamic totalitarianism, that's what some objectivists did, unfortunately, Islamism, radical Islam, all that bullshit to not say Islam, right? To pretend that Islam is fine as such. It's just that these other, dirty forms of Islam, that's the problem, which is bullshit. And that's what I think some of them are doing with wokeism. They don't want to pinpoint that it's a left, that it's the commies. That's the problem. And, it's not really communism, it's just it's cultural communism. Yes, it is. That's what wokeism is. Trying to upend the entire system, trying to upend America, all our values, all our characters, all our icons, trying to undo them. They're nihilists. But nihilists can't go out there and say, I'm a nihilist for nihilism. No, they always put other ways about it. We're trying to improve. When you got leftists also, post-election, telling us, we didn't save America. It's like, you guys were out to destroy the country. You didn't save shit. You hate the country. And you deserve your beating. Awesome. Then it says, I love your honesty of using the deliberate term National Socialist. Absolutely. I mean, we have to. Again, the left has tried to cover up the fact that Nazis wasn't even their name. It was National Socialists. National Socialism. Socialism. That's what it is. That's what Hitler was. That's what his whole gang was. They were socialists. And don't let the left get away with it. Don't let them call it what it is. They never use the term National Socialism for a reason. They want to cover up the fact that it was National Socialism, that he was one of them, that he was leftist. We got to stop that. You got to hit it home a lot, over and over again. Hamilton says, Konstantin Kissin is a skinny one. Yeah, that's what I meant. Franz Foster is a taller one with hair. Yeah, Konstantin Kissin, yeah. Annoying as fuck. I mean, he really is. It's like, yeah, he's better than left, but he's such a compromiser. He's itching to look at both sides of it. He's itching to both sides of it. It's like, I mean, please, just take a goddamn side and stick to it. You're not some mediator, okay? You want to trigger something? Tell the truth. Always. You want to trigger your audience? Trigonometry? Tell the goddamn truth consistently, okay? And tell your guests if they're out of line that they're liars, that they're cheats. That's it. Don't try to work with them. Don't try to, understand them, to the point of becoming them. Hey, when Sam Harris goes on your show, okay, and tells you that it's good that there was a leftist conspiracy to stop Trump from becoming president, and that it's good that they did that. The idiot, Konstantin Kissinger, could have said, wait a minute, you're rationalizing election fraud. You're saying it's good that they stole the election. Of course, he wouldn't say that because he's a chump. But that's what Sam Harris was saying. Sam Harris was saying anything goes when it comes to Trump. By that, he meant election fraud, assassination, and so on. When he says anything to stop him, that's what he's saying. And that's when you got to call him out. Instead, the idiot has him on and just he lets it happen, which is terrible. Those guys are chumps, absolute chumps. Have me on. I mean, he wouldn't, but have me on. We'll get into a real. I will absolutely trigger them. Believe me. You want to name your show Trigonometry and not be triggered? What a waste. Okay, Mike. No, I meant the latest Wolverine cover by Frank Miller, the one that sucks. I think of it quite a lot when I think about Miller. Yeah. It's so bad. It's like Miller is just, he's doing these covers that are aggressively bad. I mean, aggressively bad. And they're publishing them because his name is Frank Miller. Anyone else sends those in without the name, they laugh him out of the room. But hey, it's Frank Miller, right? It's so bad. So bad. Art says, don't forget fundamentalist Islam, saying it was a drastically different version of Islam. I can't stand that. I can't stand that shit. Fundamentalist Islam. It's Islam. It's like totalitarian Islam. Islam is totalitarian by nature. Why add that? Why add that word? Islamism? What the hell does that mean? Well, it's a different form. No. There's no such thing. Okay? Stick to the actual terminology that the enemy uses and that average Muslims use. Average Muslims say they follow Islam. Osama bin Laden says they follow Islam. It's just the fact that he's more consistent. That's it. It's not that they follow some moderate form of Islam, which is bullshit. Remember that moderate Islam? That died a long time ago. We don't even hear about that anymore. Moderate Islam. We don't hear that, which is good. That means the truth is coming through. Despite the efforts of the left and the right to try to disconnect Islam from the horrors it inspires. Wingenstinger says, I think the reason why people are averse to call them communists sometimes is because a lot of these people are generally too stupid to realize that their worldview is communist. I get that, but I'm talking about the leaders. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the players. I'm talking about the activists, the ones who are pushing this. Idiots are idiots, and they are useful idiots, and that's why we call them that, and that's why Lenin called them that. But the ones who are behind it all, they are the absolute communists, 100%. It's like you got communists running the show right now in Washington, D.C. I mean, they have two puppets as president and VP, but it's communists behind it all. Hardcore communists. We don't know exactly, which ones. We could assume Obama and Susan Rice and all the other rats, but we don't know 100% who is behind that, and we should find out, and that should be part of the plan coming up. See, who's been running the country for 4 years? Who? Now, I don't like the idea that presidents run the country because they don't, but that's the vernacular. That's what people say. So, but who has been in charge of the White House in the last 4 years? We need to know that. We know it's been a scam. We know it's been a lie. We know it's the first time in history that we've had a collective, presidency. First time ever. And we should know who the hell was calling the shots. Mike says, I'm not a white nationalist. I'm a nationalist who is white. Right. Thomas Ivanko says, I think both sides are corrupted. Look, there's corruption across the board, no doubt about it. But when the right is consistent, when they're true to themselves, when they're true to freedom, to liberty, that's when they're at their best. When the left is true to themselves, that's when they're at their worst. That's a big difference between the two. If you're consistently pro-freedom and liberty, which is, to me, the spectrum is the more right, the more freedom, the less controls, the less government, the less tyranny. The more left, whether it's a secular, tyranny or the religious tyranny, it's all on the left. All on the left. The middle ground That's where the corruption is. That's where the corruption is. That's where the compromises are. That's when let's play games with evil. Let's just try to understand evil and work with them. You can't do that. So if that's what you mean, again, the right is at its worst when it betrays itself. That's when, and the left is at its worst when it absolutely is devout in its ideas. Wingenstinger says, after the election, a couple of my classmates made their little Instagram message things, death to America, and similarly absurd stuff. Yeah. They hate the country. They hate the country. Leftists, the true leftists, the ones who are in charge, hate the country. They want to unmake it. You don't want to. Why would you want to unmake something that you love? Hamilton says, just my opinion, but I think you would be a great guest on Trigonometry. Hey, look, I went on the Daily Show knowing that they're going to go there to mock me. Big shit. So what? I'll hold my own. I'll try to, go back and forth with them. I'll go on there. But the point is that, I'd like to call them out. I'd like to trigger them because it seems like the truth does trigger them. And they're always trying to play that middle of the road. You can't do that. You can't do that. Tell the truth. The truth is one thing. It's not two things. It's not two sides. You got the leftist truth and the rightist truth. No, there's just one truth. There's just one. And I can't stand these cowards. I just can't. But yeah, I'd be on there. I doubt they'd have me because they're chumps. And again, they don't want to be challenged. I don't think they pretend to, but they don't want to be. And would they have a guy who draws Muhammad? Would they have me draw Muhammad on the show? I don't think so. Hamilton says, to their credit for Trigonometry, they do entertain a brief. Sure. Cenk Uygur, about his nonsense recently. Cenk Uygur, he's a disgrace. He's a constant liar. He's a big fat liar, is what he is, really. And then he pretends to try to be reasonable after that loss. No, it's to try to stay relevant, to get on these shows. That's all. If he says what he really means, he'd never be invited on these shows. He just wouldn't. Wingenstinger says, Frank Miller has to be laughing his way to the bank with those covers. He no doubt he is. No doubt. It's embarrassing. They're not good. Anyone else did those, people would know that they're terrible. But it's Frank Miller, so it's interesting. No, it's not. It sucks. And again, I'm a big-time Frank Miller fan. I'm an advocate for Frank Miller. I mean, I probably wouldn't be a cartoonist without his work, without that early work of his. I just wouldn't be. So, but I recognize reality. The guy just, I don't know. He sucks now. He hasn't written a great story in years. I mean, the last great work he did was 300. I don't know. He hasn't done a great work since. He did. The closest he got to making something worthwhile was that Joker, Batman, Dark Knight story that John Romita Jr., where they published his pencils directly. That was interesting. And I know Brian Azzarello had something to do with that as well in terms of story, but Miller was involved, and it was pretty damn good, man. I think it was one of the best things he did in a while, but still, it wasn't great. It wasn't 300. It wasn't Dark Knight Returns. And of course, Dark Knight Strikes Back. Oof, another terrible one. Diana says, I had to learn the phonetic alphabet in Navy boot camp. Here's a short lesson. Romeo, India, Golf, Echo, Delta, and Sierra Tango, Oscar, Lima, Echo, November. Art says, the only thing worse than recent Frank Miller covers is what he's probably getting paid for them. Absolutely. Oh my God. Ugh. It's almost obscene to think about it. Mike says, Mike Hunt, if you do start collecting 2000 AD magazine, the way to do it is best. The way to do best is 2000 AD monthly, because so is it still going, or you're talking about the old ones? I assume they have a lot of the collections back then. Brian Boland was in some of them, from what I gather, because it has the complete stories. The main magazine is a completion of serialized stories. Mike said, I don't know. I remember the right being pretty censorious. Yeah, no doubt they were. But they were, from their perspective, they were being moral about it, right? No, it's the censors are censors, and that's bad across the board. No doubt about it. But the left, they're, it's not like the left was open and honest prior and they were for free speech, but now they're not. No, they were always against free speech. Always. Take leftism to its logical extreme. What is it? totalitarian tyranny. That's all it was. And the only reason why, in some way, that they were pushing stuff here to be for things is to undermine the country. It wasn't, pornography pushing that, shoving it down our throats, putting it into, whatever they could, right? It wasn't the fact that they were against, I guess, to censor people. They were for diminishing the country. That's what they were for. It wasn't for free speech. Whenever they're for something, whenever they're for the freedom of something, it's a bad thing that they want to undermine the country with. That's what they want. When they talk about freedoms of transgender, what freedoms do transgender don't have that they are fighting for? What? To mutilate children? That should be illegal. It should be. It should be illegal. That should be a law to put in. You cannot mutilate children. You just can't. I don't give a fuck what the children say. They're children. They don't know better. The parents should be there to take care of them, to direct them, to talk them out of it, and say, look, when they're older, whatever. Even though those doctors, I gotta say, they're in on this. It's a crime what they've done. It's a crime what they've done. Doctors themselves as well. Mike says, I don't know. I remember the right. Yeah, but we did have boobs in movies, right? I'm gonna get going soon. I gotta get up early and take a long ride. But I'm gonna go through a few more of these, and then thanks for being here, everyone. Appreciate it. Thomas Ivenko says, "What do you mean by religious tyranny by left? I was born in a socialist country, and there was no religion allowed." No, my point is that tyranny is always on the left of the political spectrum. I posted something about that. It was probably the most honest way to look at the issue. The more left, the more tyrannical, whether it's religious or not. The more right, the less tyrannical, the more freedom, the more liberty. And I've argued with this, and I will argue to the end of days. That's the actual political spectrum, the actual one. So that's the idea. Who are the greatest threats today? I mean, who are the greatest threats today in the world? Leftism, Islam. Whether it's communism, socialism, Nazism, even though it's long gone, but National Socialism. The idea is that those are the biggest threats. Those are the nihilists. The nihilists. Mike says there is only one true truth. Inshallah, I try to say enchilada. Miller did that Dark Horse Presents 100 story. Tell me about that. I'm not sure. Twitless, hey, I'm tentatively interested in Miller's Ronin sequel, but all chatter on it seemed to die really fast. Yeah, I looked at it. I don't know, to be honest. A lot of repetitive words. He was doing that for a while. The art's, it's okay, but I gotta say, I know he's not with Lynn Varley anymore, but, Ronin was a story in color, a beautiful color. Yeah, it's not black and white. The Sin City, I get it. That's black and white. Ronin is not really a black and white story, or visually. It was great color. Continue that with some other colors. That's fine. I looked through it. I couldn't bring myself to get it. I just couldn't. I know Miller didn't even draw it, but he did layouts, and then he drew, I think, issue 4. And it's okay. But not a lot of storytelling going on. A lot of splash pages. A lot of words being repeated. Didn't seem like it connected on any human level. At least in Ronin, it was a guy dealing with a lot of stuff. And that opening was great. And then when it went to the modern world, I mean, it was a way for him to flex his muscles in a way that he didn't prior to that. So that was very strong. That, I think, he needed to go wild there and then pull back a little and do Dark Knight Returns. Go for storytelling a little more. Hamilton says, thanks for the stream in the chat. Thanks, man. Thanks to you as well. Happy Thanksgiving to you, Hamilton, and everyone else here. Mike, altruism is evil in the concept, I think. Yes, it is. Ayn Rand made that case over and over and over again. Otherism, placing others above yourself, sacrifice for the sake of it. That's evil. Absolute evil. Sacrifice your truth to protect others' feelings and so on. Now, I don't play the game of your truth and my truth and this truth and that truth. I don't. But the point is that you will withhold the truth from others because you don't want to hurt their feelings. The truth, always the best policy. Honesty is always the best policy, especially with loved ones and friends, and always, always, always. So don't try to protect others from the truth, and that's what altruism does. Like, well, I want to, put others above myself and all that. No, no. Now, Ayn Rand talked about, being selfish, right? The virtue of selfishness. And this is the way I see it. Your self-interest encompasses those you love. It encompasses the world you live in. It's not just, hey, I'm selfish and that's that, and I'm just for myself. No, it's a wider idea. It's a more rational, it encompasses your loved ones. It encompasses your values in others out there in the world that we live in. So being selfish in a rational sense, meaning you want to live in a better world for yourself, for your loved ones, for mankind. You don't have a contempt for mankind. Whereas altruism, it's always others at the expense of yourself. Where you're worthless, everyone else is more valuable. That next door neighbor or anyone is more valuable than you. They just are. And that's just not the truth. Art Heda says, shame that they never let shame they never let Frank do Unholy Terror. Enjoy your Thanksgiving, Mosh. I mean, you mean for DC, right? Because DC pulled the plug on it. Frank Miller said he pulled the plug on it because it wasn't no longer a Batman story. I don't buy that. I think DC balked, even if it was Dan Didio, whether that was his boy or not. They didn't want Batman taking on a real world enemy that's a monster like Al Qaeda, and it sucked anyway. I mean, I tried to like it. I wanted to like it. It's Frank Miller taking on the same enemy that I'm taking on, but he went half-assed. I check out my video on it. Expectations are there, right? One of my idols, one of my heroes, takes on the same enemy I'm taking on, and doesn't do it in an honest way. Doesn't do it in a serious way, in a aggressive way. Did it half-assed and made it into some kind of, I don't know what the hell it was. Pretty forgettable with a few nice moments. Diana says, happy Thanksgiving tomorrow. You too, Diana. Thank you for drawing Muhammad under the banner of freedom of speech, protected by the First Amendment and our Constitution. I'm thankful for you being who you are. I appreciate it, Diana. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. Same to Art. Wingus Dingus, I almost always prefer black and white comics, but Lynn Varley's color is one of the few exceptions I'd make to that rule. 100%. She brought, prior to that, color was very, very simple, right? Even in the Daredevil stuff that was being done, she colored, I believe, Daredevil 191, that Frank Miller, his last issue, he wrote, penciled it, Terry Austin inked it, not Klaus Janson, Terry Austin, and I believe Lynn Varley colored it, and it was already something there, like, interesting going on. And then she colored, of course, Ronin, and then Dark Knight, and then 300, and it's great. She was great. Mike says, is self-sacrifice for your country in the military self-serving or is altruism? Look, I don't think any soldier goes out there to self-sacrifice, right? Doesn't go out there. He wants to kick the enemy's ass and live. And the reason why we see them as heroes, and unlike Dick Masterson, that Dick, the reason why Americans appreciate them and honor them is because it's dangerous as hell to do what they do. And some of them do die. So I don't think they're going out there to sacrifice. They're going out there to defend their country, to defend their fellow Americans. And sometimes the price they pay, for doing that is their lives. But I don't think they're going out there for that purpose. They're not going for sacrifice, for self-sacrifice. They sometimes do it, but not on purpose. It's just something that it's a byproduct of the nature of the venture, because it's deadly dangerous. I mean, and that's why we have to give them our respect, unlike these assholes. I had a run with. But thanks for being here, guys. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Thanks for chiming in. I do always appreciate the give and take. You be well. Enjoy the hell out of tomorrow with your friends, family, loved ones. You guys take care. Be well. Thanks.